Awesome. What advice would you give someone who's curious about investing in apartments but still on the fence?
Find out why. Well, first of all, get a little bit of education. Um, really dig in and figure out why you're on the fence. What's holding you back? Talk to somebody. Go.
Welcome to the Stephen Lee Thomas Show, where we provide expert advice for real estate entrepreneurs. And I'm your host, Stephen Lee Thomas. And it wasn't that long ago that I was navigating the challenges of real estate investing, learning from my mistakes, and building the business I have today. I created the show to give you simple, actionable, step-by-step strategies to help you do the same. Each week, we bring you in-depth discussions with industry leaders and professionals who share their knowledge and practical tips. So sit back, take notes, and let's dive into today's episode. All right, welcome to the Stephen Lee Thomas Show. I'm your host, Stephen Lee Thomas. Today, I'm super excited for our guest, Janice Greenley. So, Janice is the founder of Greenroot Capital, and they specialize in multifamily and self-storage investments. So, we're going to learn more about that today. She's also the founder of New Power Energy, which provides personalized energy consulting to help residential and small commercial customers save on electricity bills and gas bills, which is also fascinating. Um, Fun fact, Janice just closed on a 152 unit deal, an apartment complex in Tyler, Texas. I'm going to dig in more about that today. And she's also has another investment opportunity for a storage unit that just came up. So Janice has a lot of really exciting things going on. Janice, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to meet with me today.
Thank you, Stephen. I'm really excited to be here.
And I know you were at a networking event earlier. You are very busy in the real estate networking, um, uh, doing a lot of networking. I feel like every time I talk to you, you're at some networking event. So you made a decision to like jump all in on this, right?
I did. I did. So I was a headhunter for a long time, and my husband was hit with furloughs during COVID, and we said, "All right, we need a plan B because we don't like this." And so we started. That's when our energy business came in, and it put us in close proximity to multifamily owners, property managers, leasing agents, those types of folks. And I didn't even know this was available to regular people like me. And I had already quit my job and decided that if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it all. So I jumped right in both feet. And I would say probably, and don't let this scare anybody, probably 16 hours a day, every day for quite a long time because I wanted good education. I didn't want to wing it. I wanted to really understand what I was doing.
Um, Before, let's back up a little bit. Had you looked at any other type of real estate in investing? I mean, because a lot of people they will look at maybe single family, whether that's renting or fix and flips, or maybe some people try wholesaling or Airbnbs. Was that part of like had you looked at any of that before you decided to get into apartment investing?
So I had a rental, a single family rental years ago. Was not a good experience. I don't want to be a landlord. I didn't like it. So after that, I thought, well, that's not for me. And then, of course, you watch HGTV and you've got all these folks that, they can flip these properties. Well, let me just tell you that my husband is wood challenged and I cannot decorate for beans. So that's out. So those were never on the table because it just didn't fit what we thought we could do. That takes a lot of elbow grease that we didn't have the skills. So no, we really hadn't looked at anything. I thought about wholesaling and I talked to a few people about it like very casually and I didn't want to do that because it still gave too much emphasis on somebody else. How do I put this? I wasn't in control and I wanted something where I could be a little bit more in control of my success. And I didn't feel like wholesaling gave me that option. I had to make sure that there were buyers, and what if the market crashed? And, there were too many variables. And the same with Airbnb. I mean, COVID showed that you never know what can happen. And so those weren't on the table either.
Yeah, I've talked to a number of people who've gotten into wholesaling and have actually gotten into quite a bit of debt on the wholesaling thing, which is like a big backfire. So there's definitely risk there. I can share with you my wife and I had looked at, actually not looked at, we did a flip on a house, moved into it. It was a nightmare trying to track everybody down, get everything done because everybody has, their motives and just getting people to show up and get work done was like it was the most frustrating part. And then when we went to sell the house, the realtor said, "Oh, you guys did a great job, but you over improved it." And I was like, "Over improved it? Like, what are you talking about?" And he's like, "Well, the comps aren't as nice as your house,
Right,
so you can't sell it for as much as you were hoping to." I'm like, well, this what a nightmare. So, that led me to, like, I was just kind of checking these boxes. Like, I don't want to do that in real estate. I don't want to do
yep.
that in real estate. I don't want to do that in real estate. But then we get to this multifamily apartment investing. So, can you explain to someone who's never invested in multifamily before, like, what is it exactly? How does it work?
Well, there's a couple of different ways that they can be structured, but I think the most common way that people think about is the syndication piece. So you have a couple of folks, I'll say me and you. Let's say you and I, we go out and we find a property that is a good deal for a multitude of reasons. And we're general partners and we want to purchase that. But I don't have $5 million to purchase that property. So we get a loan, but we also have to raise capital. And that's where that passive investor can come in and be part of a deal. And you can syndicate it. You can bring in outside people. So you don't have to just have everything on you. You can partner with other general partners. You can bring in, passive investor money. It becomes this, what I'll call this great team sport to purchase a piece of property, depending upon the business model, like our business model is to buy something that needs some kind of a value add, so an upgrade or better property management or whatever. And then we'll hold it for a few years and then sell it. And during that time, there's cash flow and then there's equity on the back end for both the general partners and the passive investors. So it becomes a win-win for everybody as a whole to pool together to take down something that seems insurmountable to one or two people.
Okay. So I'm gonna say that back to you a little bit different. I am corporate America.
Yep,
And my financial education is really, hey, I've got a job and they're offering like a 401k.
yep.
And so I'm like, cool, I'll put my money into a 401k. What I heard you say is a lot of people don't even know they can invest in apartments, or we'll also
That's right.
talk about, storage units. So it sounds like it's a way to do like some type of alternative investment. All the
Yes.
conversations most people have is in the world of real estate, you have some active role in it, but you also said you could be passive in this. So explain to me how that works. You mean to tell me I don't have to just invest in the 401k stock market and I can invest in real estate and I don't have to do the work? Like, how does that work?
Okay. So, and I was one of those people that 5 years ago, I had no idea this world even existed. I made great money and I didn't know that really my only options weren't 401k or a fix and flip or a single family home. I again thought I needed elbow grease. Um, but with passive investing with corporate America, for example, let's say you're in finance or you're an IT guy or you're a accounting person, whatever it is, you can make great money, but when you invest in your 401k, all of it is, generally speaking, all of it's in the stock market in some shape or form. And there are lots of alternative investments that you can put your money in that can, one, help you diversify, um, and two, likely get you better returns than the stock market will. And real estate is just one of those. And honestly, I didn't know this then. I guess I kind of knew. I saw wealthy multimillionaires and billionaires invest in real estate, but again, I always thought it was out of reach. But this allows everyday people to put their money in something, get cash flow during that time, equity on the back end, and not put in elbow grease, not worry about who's managing the property, are the toilets working, all that stuff. That's general partner's job. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So help me understand. I have the stock market and it has good days and bad days.
Yep.
It's to me, there's definitely some very volatile moments. It seems very speculative.
Yep.
Um, so it depends on the moment in time, but some days I've made money, some days I've lost money in the stock market, which is
Yes.
frustrating. For these apartment deals as a passive investor, what do those returns look like? If you're enjoying the podcast and want to fast track your way to becoming a full time real estate entrepreneur, then join the Multifamily Mastery Hub on School. You'll get access to our educational course library, live trainings, live interviews, and a community dedicated to helping you succeed. Visit school.com/multifamily mastery hub. That's SKOOL.com/multifamily mastery hub and fast track your way to becoming a full time real estate entrepreneur today.
So on average, I'm going to use terms that will hopefully relate to someone that knows nothing. So cash flow, we call it cash on cash, but cash flow during the course of a hold can range anywhere from 6 to 9%. So, for example, the deal we have is just over 8%. That's not too bad. That's keeping
Mhm.
up with the stock market right now. Okay.
Right.
Um, However, there's also equity on the back end. So once we sell it, you have partial ownership in that property. And so, for example, the deal we're in now, you'll get about 12% at the sale. On average, an annual return during the whole hold and at the sale is about 20%. Now, I would say that that's a really good return right now. 15 to 22 is pretty typical for the market. So if somebody can get 20 or better, that's a really great return. And I can tell you that most days the stock market's not going to do that. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't peak and you might get a climb, but don't forget, this is what happens with the stock market. And so where the stock market has a lot of daily and maybe even hourly volatility, multifamily investing doesn't have that roller coaster ride, especially if you can partner with people that have um, taken pains to be very conservative and really put in a lot of buffers in the way that they do the financials, a lot of what ifs. What if vacancy goes down? What if our expenses go up? What if we can't get any rent increases? There should be a lot of what ifs in your underwriting is the financial analysis so that you have a great plan throughout and not, oh boy, if we can stretch it to the last second, we can make a deal. That's terrible.
Right.
Um, so that's how it compares with the stock market. You don't have to watch it every day.
Yeah, and then that's one of the things that really attracted me to apartment investing was the breaking away from the stock market. Now, I don't necessarily recommend you take all your money out of the stock market, but if you can have multiple assets that are making money for you, that's where you want to be. And another thing I love about apartments is, like you said, it cash flows. So you take stocks. How do you make money from a stock? You got to sell it.
That's right.
And then it's gone and it's not working for you anymore. But when you're invested in an apartment complex, it's printing money for you every month
That's right.
and it's appreciating. And then when you go to sell it, there's another big chunk that comes with it. And one of the things we haven't talked about is there's also tax advantages that come along with it. Can you just give us a high level of how the tax advantages work as compared to if you had your money in the stock market?
Sure. So, and let me just throw out my disclaimer that I am not a CPA, and anybody that wants to invest should check with their CPA because I
Absolutely.
want emails and phone calls. Um, but so whenever you have capital gains in the stock market, let's take it away from the 401k. I mean, everybody that's investing in the 401k is normally investing pre-tax, right?
Right,
So
right.
then you're going to pay taxes on it when you take that money out, whenever that might be, okay, when you retire. Um, there are post-tax investments as well, so that you're not taking out taxes when you retire, but you're still paying taxes on it. You're paying taxes on that money, whether you invest it before, or you're paying taxes on it when you take it out. All right, that's capital gains. But on real estate, there are a couple of ways that you can save, and you can offset your W-2 income with the tax savings. So there's uh, bonus depreciation and cost segregation. And that's kind of it's not the same every year. Frankly, it depends on what administration is in office and what their priority for that is. Like right now, it's about a 20 to 25%. And what that means is, so let's say you bought a piece of real estate. Let's say you bought an office, okay, and it was $500,000. The actual land, the real estate is valued at, let's say, 200,000, but the building on top of it is valued at 300,000. And everything in that building has a lifespan that in 20 years those windows are going to be no good and have to be replaced. In 10 years the bathroom's going to have to be redone. It has a lifespan, and so you can depreciate that building over the course of 20 years, or you can do bonus depreciation and compress that time to your first year. And on paper, it looks like you've taken a loss because the depreciation was more than the money you put in your pocket. So you can get, it's called a K1 at the end of the year. You can get a K1 at the end of the year that looks like you made no money, although you know that you were getting those quarterly distributions in your account.
Yeah, my CPA, I remember the first year I did one of these passive investments and I gave her the K1 and then I was like, let me go get my checks that I got for my investment. She said, I don't want to see those. She said, I never need to see the money that's going in and out of your account. I just need to see the K1s. That's what matters in this. So and there is a lot to it. What's beautiful about it as being a passive investor is you don't have to worry about the cost segregation or the bonus depreciation. That's taken care of by the general partnership group, and they work with their consultants on that. And then when it comes to the K1, they work with their CPA, and that's just something that's given to you. So think of it like a W-2, but you get a K1, so tax document, you hand that over to your CPA, and that's really all they need. So it can be pretty hands off from a passive investor standpoint.
Absolutely.
That's one of the things I love about it. So I want to move forward a little bit here. There might be some people who are considering this, maybe you have some questions. What are some of the common misconceptions that you hear from the passive investors when they first learn about apartment syndications?
Uh, a lot of people think they have to have a lot of money. Don't you have to have millions of dollars to invest in an apartment? No, you don't. That's the whole beauty of syndication is you're pooling your money with other investors as well. So on the low end, I've not seen anything really less than 25,000 as a minimum.
Hmm.
50,000 is pretty typical as a minimum to get in. That's the first thing. The second struggle, or I guess obstacle, pushback, is people think they have to have just cash sitting in their bank account to invest. And that's not true either. If you have like an old 401k or an old IRA, you can roll that into a self-directed IRA, and you can invest some of your retirement funds directly into a multifamily deal. And then those funds are, that cash flow goes right back into that account. And it's not a withdrawal on your account. So there's no fees and you're not paying taxes. It is just another investment. So there's a lot of opportunity for people to get in when they never really thought they had that available to them.
Yeah, I think that's a huge untapped opportunity for people to invest in deals. I I hadn't done it for a long time. I had heard about it, but I never did it. And then I finally took the opportunity to do it, and it was actually very easy to do, and to make the investment. It's very easy. And what I love about it is it gives me more of a sense of control over what's happening. So let me say it's a little bit different. If my money's invested in the stock market and 401k, I just kind of get to pick the blend, the end. And I cross my fingers and I hope that
That's right.
Fidelity's analyst, whoever it is doing their job right. And they kind of have a low bar. Like, I'm gonna be honest, they kind of have a low bar.
They
Um,
do. It's 6 weeks of training. I know exactly what that looks like.
so so you're putting your trust in somebody that you don't know. It's really just a brand. And they always get to fall back on, well, the stock market didn't perform. Well, that sucks. Like, you're still making your fees. But with
Hold
this,
on.
go ahead.
I want to, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I kind of needed to.
Yes,
The
go.
other thing that most people forget is you better hope you're not retiring when the stock market's down.
Oh yeah. 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 I know. Very, very, very true. And I saw that happen with my parents, and a lot of the money was in the stock market, and then what happens when it dries up? They're in a very, very, very bad spot. I watch them have to like really claw back on their expenses.
That's
Whereas if
right.
you have, some type of a diversified investments, you can get into these alternatives where you have, multifamily, for example. It is not dependent on the performance of the stock market. At the end of the day, people need a roof over their head. They still
Right.
got to show up, they got to work, they got to pay their bills. And one of the first things they're going to pay for is their apartment. Like, that's one of the things they're going to do. Everybody needs that. So, yeah, great diversification there. And then, um, for those of you that are listening, um, it's worth a phone call to see if you can access those funds. It's not always available, but it's worth a phone call
Right.
because that unlocks a lot for you, the ability to use a self-directed IRA. Um, I want to move forward a little bit. You just closed a deal recently. Can you walk us through that deal?
Sure. Um, Gosh, how do I'm trying to think of what would be best for everybody to know. So it's in Texas, which everybody knows, or most people should know. It's a great market. Um, there's so many people moving here that it just makes sense to look. It's 152 units. It is what I call a great, clean, safe, working class apartment property. We typically target things that are what I call right in the middle. So we're not going after luxury properties that maybe not everybody can afford, especially if the market tanks. And we're not going after things in areas that our tenants don't feel safe in. So somewhere right in the middle. It's a 1970s property that looks like it's a 1980s or 90. It's in fantastic shape. We're paying 71,000 a unit for it, which is an incredible price. It does need a little bit of updating on the inside, but honestly, only cosmetic. It doesn't need a whole lot. And we're doing 84 units. The returns, like I mentioned, are incredible. Over 8% cash flow, 21.2 is anticipated overall, the ARR or annual rate of return for our investors. We do have this plan to hold a little bit longer than we would typically like. It's a 6-year hold, but it's because we're assuming a loan at 3.8% interest. That is an incredidible interest rate.
It
And that
is. Yeah, compared to
it
today's
is.
rates, it's a great
Yes.
rate. Yeah.
And that loan expires in 6 years or has to be, either renewed or refinanced or whatever. It is a fixed agency loan, but it will expire at that point. We do also have one more year of interest only we get to take advantage of. Um, we hope to be, we're going to put it on the market and have it ready so that we can sell in between that year 5 and year 6. Um,
Awesome. And that technically, as of the moment of this recording, is still available. If someone wanted to learn more, they could invest in that. They have to be accredited,
Correct.
but they could absolutely reach out to you. I think you've got a page up on your website about that deal. They could learn more. So before we end, we'll make sure we share information with the audience if they wanted to reach out to you or learn more about that deal.
Absolutely.
Um, so moving on, what is one thing you wish more people knew about these alternative investments in this, commercial real estate specifically?
Um,
Or I should say commercial real estate investing.
right, right. Honestly, I think I wish I knew more people understood how beneficial it can be and how accessible it can be. I talk to so many people that have never heard of this, and I understand because I hadn't. Um, it isn't something that's out of reach, and I think it feels so scary to people because they're unfamiliar with it. I think everybody likes the idea of real estate, but when it comes right down to it, fear holds them back. And I wish more people would take the time to get on a call with us, get on a call with me and learn a little bit. I'm not going to do a hard sell for somebody to invest. I'm going to educate the people that I talk to and let them make that decision when it's good for them. But I wish more people really knew what they're missing out on.
How can someone who's busy with a full-time job start dipping their toe into this and learning more about it?
Uh, well, I'm posting things on LinkedIn every day. I put out newsletters. There's tons of people out there. I mean, and you do have to be careful. You don't want to absorb information from everybody because not everybody maybe has the same approach. Um,
And you've got some free resources available on your website,
I
right?
I do. I have two ebooks that they can download. They're free. I've got a couple of videos on YouTube, and those links are on my website as well. They can go watch those. And those videos are great because they really break down exactly how it works. So, like, I'm a visual learner, and me talking is great, but I need to put eyes on it, so they can go literally put eyes on those things. The other thing, schedule a call with me and have your list of questions. I'm happy to run through all of the information with them, and then of course they can join my newsletter, and we can, hate to say flood them, but we'll get them a lot of education
Get them
so that they
educated.
can,
Yeah.
yes, they're not sales pitches, they're education. And the more education somebody has, the more comfortable they end up being with something that they're not familiar with, because familiarity breeds comfort. And so you have to get around it. You have to be around it. Go to a real estate networking group. Learn, immerse yourself. And if you're going, all right, I don't have time to immerse myself, then at least read. Instead of,
Mhm.
sounds terrible, instead of scrolling Facebook or whatever at night, jump on my website and spend 10 minutes. 10 minutes a night for a couple of weeks, you'll have a ton of great information. If you have a deal in front of you and you're not sure if that's the right deal for whatever, take it to somebody else that does real estate and let them walk you through what they see as the pros and cons of that deal. Because it never hurts to get a second opinion. Also, if that isn't the right deal, find another one, get into it, get moving now. Again, just like the stock market, time is on your hands. It's your best friend. The sooner you can get into investing, the more time you have to grow your finances.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's really just taking that first step. It's like anything scary. You just take that first step. And once you take the first step, then you start learning along the way. So one of the things that I'll see people do is they will do a smaller investment amount first. It's more comfortable to do that. What then the other thing I see on the other side of that is once people start seeing how easy it is and what those returns are like and the advantages, then they start getting into much bigger 100, $200 million investments. So one thing I want to put in perspective is how much money does a person need to retire? A lot of people don't actually know that, but it's actually millions of dollars. If you want to have a good retirement, you need millions of dollars. And so there is this fear of, well, I'm only going to put a little bit of money into the apartment investing, but like what Janice was describing, if you put the stock market versus apartments side by side, almost all day long, the apartments outperform.
Right.
So I get it, and I do advise people maybe dip your toe in the water, do a small investment, but as soon as you become comfortable with it, the way you're going to really accelerate your wealth growth and the retirement piece is doing much larger investments. So, $25,000 at a time isn't really going to get you there. It's just going to make a little bit of a splash. So think about the effort that you're putting into your retirement funds and how much you need to have there. Well, what if you could accelerate that by almost like doubling what happened as compared to the stock market? If you're behind, you want to get caught up, you need to have this conversation with Janice. You need to go talk to her and see, like, is there a way, if I invest with you, can I actually really accelerate this? And she'll walk you through how the whole process would work.
Absolutely. And I'm going to throw out another thought. I think we all look at retirement as an age, and retirement really isn't an age. It really should be a number, or whether that's a monthly number or, a lump sum, whatever the case may be, enough for you to comfortably live on for however long is left in your life. And I will tell you, I have a friend who lives only on passive income from real estate,
And
and
that's
she's
awesome.
younger than me. So, yeah,
Uh,
I want to be her when I grow up.
She's cracked the code. She's cracked the
Yeah.
code. All right, Janice. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to meet with me, educate the listeners. Where can people connect with you and start learning how to invest with you?
The best place is for folks to go to my website. It's greenrootcapital.com. You can subscribe to our newsletter there. You can download ebooks. If you want to email me, it's simply Janice, Janice, at greenrootcapital.com. I'm not going to throw my number out online. I feel like that may be a bit much, but message me there. I'll get it within 5 minutes and get back to you and schedule a call.
And we'll make sure we include those notes in the show notes, with the contact information in the show notes. And then also, Janice, I know you're very active on LinkedIn, so we'll make sure we provide that link on LinkedIn. So, Janice, thank you so much. I'm super excited for you in this deal and your other opportunity that just came up, and I might have even gone on a property tour today. So lots of great things for you in the future. Folks, I will see you in the next episode. I'm Stephen Lee Thomas.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
You got it. Thanks, Janice. Thanks for tuning in to the Stephen Lee Thomas Show today. And if you found value in today's episode, then I have a favor to ask you. Please share it with friends, family, and anyone who might benefit from the insights we shared today. Also, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review if you enjoyed the show. And if you aren't already part of our school community, then head on over to school.com/multifamily mastery hub and join today. And again, thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to connecting with you in our school community.